What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, loan officers, real estate agents, appraisers, home buyers, home livers in? Welcome to today's Monday market update. I am excited about today. I'm excited about this week. I'm excited about, you know what, Matt, I'm just excited to be here. It's an exciting time in the industry. It's an exciting time in the market. And it's an exciting time to be working with people who want to buy houses. Agree
100%.
I knew you would. I know your passion is people. And speaking of people, what did you do? What did you do this weekend?
You know what I did? I did a little bit of golf yesterday with the family. 4 of us went out and swung some golf clubs. And so that was a good time. We watched a lot of Olympics this weekend. Olympics are freaking cool, man. Like, dude, my younger son is swimming. Swimming's friggin' cool. But it's just like, I'll watch all of it. I'll watch friggin' fencing, and I know you like the bikey ridey stuff. But all of it is just it's really cool.
I'm with you. I watched the opening ceremonies, you know, as many have shared. It was weird. And also, like, somebody was like showed me some clips of like the Beijing ones and like, yeah, like the ones in arenas. Like, I was like, I like where your head's at. You were creative, you know, you had it on the river. That's super cool. Like, what a way to like showcase Paris. But yeah, I was like, I want the synchronized 1,000 people on the field all doing crazy stuff. Like, I kind of wanted some higher production value and for it to be a little less weird. Other than that, though, we've been all Olympics. Like, it is just on in the other room. Like, it's just always on. I like, you know, 50 weeks out of the year, I'm like, you know, I love America. Don't get me wrong. But like, I register my concerns about various parts of it, you know, political, economic, and otherwise. These 2 weeks out of the year, I'm like, come at us, Canada, USA. Like,
yeah, let's go. Oh yeah, I was watching some gymnastics yesterday. Some Biles and some women's gymnastics. Dude, like,
she's the GOAT.
Yeah, it just gets you pumped, like you said, to kind of and I love seeing big basketball fan. My kid's a big basketball fan. It's cool seeing NBA players like playing against each other, like Jokic playing. I know. And so it's it's a fun experience. Here's a question for you, Sean. This might add value because we might create a great idea in real time. What can they do to make viewing better? I'm on DirecTV. Sometimes like what it says is going to be happening doesn't align with what's actually recorded, because we recorded like 12 hours worth. Then we try to go back and be like, where's the swimming?
Oh, bro, I'm gonna change your life.
That's what I was thinking. That's why I asked the question. I knew you were.
So I was just saying, I think the reason we like it so much this year is because NBC's Peacock app, like you gotta subscribe to Peacock. I think it's like $6 a month. We
subscribe to everything.
Yeah, I know. It's like such a money drain. But their app on our TV, and you know how most like apps on TVs are just like garbage. I'm like, who did they hire to do this? It is the best user experience. You can do multi-view. You can just do like, you can just click like what's on now, where they kind of switch between all the different things. But you can also just go to whatever sport you want. Like, I watched the entire, this is so boring, the entire men's and women's like road cycling time trial, like start to finish. And it didn't cut to other sports. Like, I watched all of it. So
that is the hack that I was looking for, brother. I appreciate
it. The user experience is phenomenal. I was very impressed.
I love it. I love it. All right. More Olympics coming this week, and I'm going to be watching on Peacock.
Well, speaking of American prices went down last week. PCE, the Fed's favored, I'm going to keep saying that until everybody remembers, the Fed's favored inflation metric went down, or 2.5% inflation using this metric. You can disagree with the metric, but the metric does measure something. And the something that it measures, those prices are in fact, or like increasing at a slower rate. And they had been 2.5. You may know, you math nerds out there, is not very far away from 2.0, which is what they're what the Fed is shooting for. So that was really good news last week. Jobs numbers came in. It's not like it's not as red hot of a job market as we've been seeing. And Matt, that points to what could be a very interesting Wednesday, because what do we have this Wednesday?
We got the Fed meeting. It's Fed week, brother. So July 31st. Then we take August off. So this is our last Fed meeting until mid-ish September. I think it's September 18th or something.
Oh my God.
So yeah, it's and I'm gonna retract. Off camera, I said I think this is a nothing burger.
I wanted to argue with you. All right.
Well,
go ahead.
I'll still argue with you a little bit because like they've done so much foreshadowing and told us that they're gonna do that it almost makes it like, yeah, like I won't even pay attention to the meeting, so I know it's going to happen. But in your defense, what they talk about and the talk track and the Q&A that goes on afterwards with Jerome Powell is going to be really, really important because like they've been doing, I feel like he's going to foreshadow with like out of doubt exactly what their plan is for those last 3 meetings of the year, September, November, December, at the very least September, which I don't mean to skip ahead here. I'm looking at the FedWatch tool for September. There's like a 0% chance we're still in the same range.
That's what I wanted to talk to you about. That is crazy to me. So, I mean, they haven't had the Fed meeting yet. Jerome Powell has not foreshadowed. They've definitely said, we're looking when we should lower rates. So, it's on the horizon, but they haven't given like the time component yet, which is usually when traders can have some degree of certainty. And for those of you new to this tool, this shows, it would typically show the rate that we're currently. Oh, wait, it does. This is for July. Yeah, so this is the rate we're currently at, 525 to 550. It's a range for some reason that I've never really understood. And you'll see up here the probabilities of easing this Wednesday are 4.1%. So the chance that rates go down are 4.1%. It's not going to happen. 4.1%. No, 0%. 96% chance of no change. That's correct. And then 0% chance of them just surprise raising the rates. But you're right. Dude, that would be a fun day at the office. But you're absolutely right that 100% of traders say there's 100% chance that there's going to be a reduction in rates in September 18th.
And that's the crazy part too, is like there's a 10% shot that it's 50 basis points in cut, knowing that it's like not very likely that we get a cut in July. They're saying like the Fed's going to wait until September, then give us a little 50 spot.
Right, like six additional percent have piled on from that 4%. So they think it's going to be a double drop. Again,
yeah.
Like where do these people get this level of confidence? Like I wish I could go through my life being like, oh yeah, I know exactly what they're going to do. I know exactly what the
2 cuts September, 50 basis point cut.
Or these people, 0.3% of 3 cuts.
Those are the true crazies.
But yeah, no, that was what popped out at me as well, is that like, I mean, people think this is definitely going to happen. I have a standing bet with Sam Fulton in our Utah office that Wednesday, sometime between 2 p.m. and 2:30 p.m., the 10-year, as soon as Jerome says, yeah, we're shooting for September, because he has to say that. He has to say, like, he has to give a date. I mean, he doesn't have to, but I would assume that he's going to. That the 10-year, which is currently sitting at what, 4.15, is going to drop down to 3.9. And all of this rate talk we've been talking about for, I mean, years now. God, we've been chatting about like when they're going to reduce rates for so long. It looks like it might finally happen. GDP came out pretty strong.
Finally happened, and I think that that's Right. That's what people want to hear. This is what people are like, all right, that's cool, statistics talk, but like, what does it mean for mortgage interest rates? There's not like a direct correlation, but as the Fed cuts interest rates, mortgage interest rates will follow. And I was looking at it for fun. Last October, we were at 8%, and rates went from, and this is just an average in like Mortgage News Daily, from 8% to 6.6 by like mid-December. So in a 2-month period. And so like it wouldn't be outlandish to think the Fed starts cutting interest rates, other economic factors that influence mortgage rates. Like we go from the 7-ish range we've been in down a full percent over the next 3 to 6 months. And like, I think nobody knows, but if that stuff happens, I can tell you with absolute certainty, it's going to make the housing market more competitive than it is today.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And
That's what I think people need to know. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. You see here, I mean, even since April, where we were kind of at a peak of, this top one is 30-year and this bottom one's 15-year, at a peak of 7.23, according to whatever metric like this particular chart goes off of. The important thing is the relative reduction. We've already seen half a percent drop in interest rates with no interest rate drop from the Fed and no mention of interest rate drop or of win from the Fed. So once we actually get mention of win, and then we get mention, then it actually happens, and then there might be a like by December, right? People are pricing in 1, 2, 3 cuts still, and some people even think 4 or 5. That's crazy, but it'll be 2 or 3. I'm still on team 1. I don't think people like. I have not seen anything in the market to say like we need a drastic cut in interest rates. You know what I mean? Like all things, looking at everything, it's like the economy is sort of. It doesn't need like this like massive. It doesn't need this massive boost. You know what I mean? So
slow and steady. That's what we want anyway. That's what's more healthy for the.
Should be really interesting. Are we on like a delay or something? Or are we just talking over each other? We're just so excited.
So excited. I think that we might be on a little like you're choppy on my side, but that might be my internet connection. I don't know.
All right. Well, we'll work through it. Yeah, I think should be really interesting. We've got jobs numbers this week as well, so we'll know the unemployment rate, whether or not jobs have been created, how many jobs have been created. This number kind of is like, this is the number that like is always confusing. Like it always kind of defies what people think. Remember, we had that 300,000 or something job creation a couple months ago, followed by 180. But that is something the Fed looks at a lot. My guess is, since it fluctuates so heavily, they probably look at it over time and won't just look at one reading. But they'll have 2 readings to choose from by the 18th of September. This, I think, goes to what you were talking about earlier. So this is a look back over the last 3 years of homes for sale in the Atlanta Metro MLS, FMLS. So 90% of transactions happen through this service in Atlanta. And I mean, this is the number of homes homes for sale right now. So listings that are currently active. And I'm not sure if it includes like under contract or pending or anything, but anyway, way back in 2021, you saw this crazy inventory crunch. I mean, it was absolutely bonkers. It was crazy. I mean, like, interest rates were so low, tons of, money flooding the market, and man, people were just snatching everything up. We saw growth as interest rates went up in late 2022. And then I think like a lot of people kind of got stuck in their home here, as far as they had a very low interest rate. They didn't want to sell, so they didn't list their house, so they didn't buy a house. Now we're seeing 24,000 homes for sale in the greater Atlanta market, and it just keeps going up. I mean, people have been complaining about inventory for a long time. And if I would have made this chart a little bit further, if I would have gone back to 5 years ago in 2019, right around this time, guess how many homes for sale? 25,000 in 2019. Again, we've said this before. It's kind of like a benchmark year, right? Like it was like, this feels healthy. Houses were appreciating.
Our last normal year.
Yeah, it was just like a totally fine, normal year, far enough away from the financial crisis that like it just seemed, interest rates were like in the high fours. Remember that? Low fives. It's crazy. Um, so at least in Atlanta, I know it doesn't feel this way to a lot of people yet because they still say inventory is a huge issue, and I believe them. But like looking at the raw numbers, it's not as bad as it's been, and it's getting better and better. Are you seeing the same thing in your market?
Yeah, I am. And it's interesting to look at this like across like a ton of different, major metros. The graph looks like this. We're like, oh my gosh, inventory has gone up 200, 300%. And then when you spread it out, you go, oh, it's back to normal. We were just at such low levels of inventory. It was so competitive that, this is honestly really, really healthy for the housing market and for buyers, which as a mortgage broker, I'm on team buyer. I just worry about buyers, how to get them the best, structured mortgage, how to help them get offers accepted. It's all good news for us, right? For sellers, it might be a little bit scary. You got more sellers that are also selling, and with increased inventory, you got the chance of stuff sitting. One of the interesting things, Sean, is part of the reason there's more existing inventory is not because a bunch of people are listing, but over time, 7 days, 14 days, 21 days, 28 days of stuff not selling, the new stuff gets added to existing, and that number continues to rise. I think when they do the year over year numbers, we're really close to like an all-time low for real estate transactions, like 3.88 million or something. When you annualize it, a bunch of my smart friends are like, we're going to go below 3.8 in the coming months, which means like, even if there's a normal number of homes being listed, they're taking longer to sell. It's adding to existing inventory, and 3.8 million is still a lot of homes, but compared to the 7 million that were sold in 21, like it's half. And so all that to say, if you're a buyer who's buying the second half of 24,
yeah, what's going to happen to this line? What's going to happen to this line when rates drop by a percentage point and a half?
Oh, it goes down. Yeah, because like I'm no genius with any MBAs, but I know supply and demand. Like more demand comes in and rates come down, like the inventory starts to come off the market because people start to buy.
Do
and
you
so
but do
I think
you think that additional demand is going to outpace that this maybe frees up some sellers to be like, okay, well, like rates are low enough that I can, right? A lot of people have been stuck in their house due to having a low interest rate. Like, do you think that the reduction in interest rate frees them up to be like, well, maybe we should buy, which means we have to sell?
it'll take some of those people, like the some marginal uh, demand. But I think more than anything is what I would guesstimate is that demand is going to stabilize this number. If rates stayed at 7% for another year, like you might see inventory climb and be higher than those 2018, 19, quote unquote, normal years. But I think it's going to stabilize the growth of active inventory. And it's an absolute certainty that when rates go down, demand goes up. It'll be interesting to see how much do they go down, how much demand gets inserted, how that does against the increasing supply of homes. Either way, I think that like all of this is moving us towards a relatively stable housing market. I love it when the buyer's able to look at 4 or 5 homes, not be worried that it's going to be off the market in 48 hours, talk with their spouse, talk with their mortgage pro. How do we structure this? We've got all these negotiations going on today, Sean, which are like my favorite. Listed at 559. House only makes sense for the buyer payment wise at 515 with a 1-1 buy down, giving them the lower rate for year 1 and 2. Like, there's no way you negotiate that in a market like that's got no inventory, 10, 14, 18,000 homes for sale in all of Atlanta. Like, you can't negotiate like that. And so I'm excited for buyers. I think that the buyers that are inevitably going to buy, and it's like a lifestyle thing, not a time the market, what's the rates, what are the prices, they're going to have an easier time the second half of 24. So I'm here for it.
Yeah, it is funny to see people negotiating prices down from the listing price for once. It was so ingrained in us for the last 3 years that like that's just the starting suggested point, and then the auction begins.
Right.
But like when I look at the Atlanta stats for percentage of original price, so like what did it sell for versus the original price? You know, for the last 3 years, it's been over 100%, and right now it's at 98.8%. So there's not massive discounts according to listing price. But if I go back to like 2018, there's periods where it's at 96. Is normal to get 3, 4, 5% off, which is not quite the discount that you guys are asking from your $559,000 seller. But
yeah, but some stuff's going to sell at full price, so we
right.
get 10% off, and it all evens out. And you're right, like it got ingrained in us that it's just like this is the starting point. How much above are we going to have to bid to get this house? A lot of areas, like that's just not the case anymore, which is great.
Yeah, and it's like people were waiving inspections. I couldn't handle it. I was just like, this just seems very risky to be like we're gonna pay $30,000 more than they're asking, waive inspections, appraisal gap, all that stuff. And now, and that definitely seems healthy. And again, one last statistic is, the current days on market, average days on market has tripled in Atlanta from April of 2021 to today, but that's just a tripling from 5 days on market to 15 days on market. So like that's like if I was selling my house and it was on market for 15 days and it got under contract, I'd be thrilled. That's a perfect amount of time.
Yeah,
and I also think it's a good amount of time for the buyer. I think it's still kind of like short for buyers. It does get that sense of urgency going. If I look back to 2017, it's a fine year. 38 days on market was the average, and that's got to. I mean, just having your house clean for 38 days is really the problem that I would have with it. It's just not in the cards.
Not in the cards.
So yeah, all right. Tell me this: first-time home buyer. I have a W-2 job. I'm married. We both make $60,000 to $70,000 a year. I'm looking to buy $350,000, $400,000 house. But I know, or I'm pretty sure that rates by the end of the year will drop by 1.5 points. Do I wait?
I'm going to give you some great advice. Well, I guess you're asking if you should wait to buy, which I don't think that you want to enter a market when everybody else wants to be in the market and you're competing and you're paying $40,000 more. But this is a interesting conversation that I'm having a lot of and a lot more. Now's the time you want to buy. The kids start in 7th grade. This school district has a great middle school. And so for some people, I think the timing doesn't matter, but when you do buy, you want to think about the future stuff. And so I would tell you, buy the house you want, negotiate a great price because that's the type of market a lot of us are in. And when we look at the mortgage, I opened up the rate stack. I just did this like 3 times last week. And I said, Sean, this is your mortgage. So it's 100% up to you. You can't really get this wrong, but let's talk about the math. At 7.375, based on your credit score, your down payment and all that, you wouldn't have to pay anything for this rate. That's an option. 6.99 is going to cost you 1 point for your, $400,000 purchase with 5% down. 1 point of a $380,000 loan is $3,800. So let's look at 699, 7375, no cost, 1 point. You're saving $80 a month, but it's costing you $3,800.
No,
do some quick math, 40 plus months. And then Sean, on your side, here's the great thing that I've learned, Sean. I'm not going to assume for Sean, Sean's wife, Sean's finances, all of the things that, Sean's more intimate with than I am. You tell me, does $80 a month or $3,800 more sit in your bank more important to you? I can tell you that I don't think you'll be in this mortgage at 7.375 for 40 months. I don't think we're going to have to wait 4 years for rates to get to 6.25, where at that loan amount, it's going to make sense to refi. And so the best part about this, Sean, is when I have this conversation, I never know. I never know the answer. I'm just presenting all the options. I told the buyer something similar. And the buyer said, listen, Matt, I'm really like risk averse. Even if I refinance and this sunk cost, this upfront buy down ends up just going in the wind, I'm okay with it because I cannot be in the higher rate, the higher payment forever if rates happen to stay flat or even increase. I think the chances of that are very unlikely, but again, not my loan. I'm just the advisor to give all the options, and we truly don't know. But if someone asked me, Matt, what would you do? I'm relatively certain. So if you've got a W-2 job, you're going to be, qualified in 9 months or 12 months or 18 months, just as good, as much as you're qualified today. I wouldn't spend a lot of money up front buying the rate down when it's highly likely you get that rate for no cost in the future. So those are good conversations. Not everybody's having those, Sean. That's why, like, if you're listening and you're a consumer, you're an agent, you're in the market, make sure that the mortgage professional you're working with,
his name is Matt Gougé.
Exactly. Yeah. Just go to greatmortgagebroker.com and connect with me and the team. That's how you can avoid any pain or suffering in the loan process, because that's the thing. If you don't know any better as a consumer, a big box company might just be like 6.499. And then you as a consumer goes, oh my gosh, that's great. I talked to Matt and it was like a 7% I've got the 6.499 too. And I've got it for 9,000. Rocket's charging you 14,700 for that. I would never recommend you to do that, but it's available if you want. And it's actually, and so consumers get caught up on rate. All the rates are available. You get to pick your rate. And you also, with that rate, are going to pay more or less for it. A great advisor is going to tell you why you might want to think twice about paying $14,000 up front for 6.5.
I love this passion.
Oh, passionate, baby.
It makes me want to go present rates to a client.
Let's do it.
Well, I'm really excited for the Fed meeting on Wednesday. Super excited for our special edition that happens the week after every Fed meeting of What the Fed, to dissect what happened as a result of the Fed meeting, maybe take a quick peek at the jobs numbers, and continue to talk about like how whatever happens this week affects our next few months. Matt, it's been a pleasure as always.
Always great seeing you. Monday morning, first thing, I get a little bit of Sean Grapevine. Really starts the week off right.
Wow. Just love. All love here.
All love,
well,
baby.
Speaking of love, we love our listeners, viewers, watchers as well. Thanks for hopping on. Can't wait to see you guys next week. If you have any questions next week, drop them in the chat. We'd love to get them answered, specifically about the Fed or the housing market or rates or the Olympics or what, cycling. What
no one wants to talk about cycling, Sean.
Oh.
You and Casa. Just you guys. Sorry.
It's sad, but it's true. On that note, we will call it a day. Matt, thanks again. Everyone watching, thanks so much. Have a great week.